can, y'all, I'm so sorry. I don't think I could see comments on the last little live. I deleted it real quick. I'm trying to see oh, all messages. Okay. I think I have it right now. Okay, I am back. I know this is impromptu because I don't have not one person on here. Like I said in the last little quick little video I did, I just wanted to say Merry Christmas, even though Christmas is over. Happy 2025. Everything's going well on this side. I hope everything's going well on your end. Everything's pretty much the same over here. Still on the same job because y'all know I'll job hop in a minute, but I'm still on the same job and just trying to get myself together in 2025 so I can work towards, always working towards something, y'all. Just trying to work towards getting myself, I won't say debt, but trying to pay off things like usual. I'm going to get it done in 2025. But I have paid a couple things off. I've got one credit card out the way. I've gotten one, my furniture account, I've got that out the way. That's paid off. I'm currently working towards paying off another credit card, like trying to knock these other two out the way, like I've said before, while still paying, all my regular household bills. Some would say it was stupid of me to get another place, even though I have little debts I'm paying off. But for my mental health and for my social life, I, did get another place. It's a rental, but and I come here on the weekends. So yeah, I'm gonna give it maybe about another 2 to 3 minutes. If nobody joins, I might probably just do a video instead. I know I got to like jump back in here kind of brand new because it's been so long and I'm never consistent. And my subscribers are probably so used to me not even making videos no more. They probably like on to the next. But yeah, I'm still here. I do not doing I've been doing things and not posting. Like I said, I really, really need to start posting things because I have been places and I never record. I went to a banquet last week. It was a MLK banquet for a scholarship fund. And I went there with one of my, I call them homegirls, y'all. I'm 47 years old. I use the term homegirls. I don't use the term bestie and all that. So, homegirl, that's my era. I went with one of my homegirls, and it was okay. It wasn't, child, somebody said, what's your social security number? It wasn't what I was, Lord, these people are time blocked. Well, at least he come out and, at least this person come out and say it. Can you say happy birthday to Brooklyn? Happy birthday, Brooklyn. My last daughter that I had, I was gonna name her Brooklyn. I always love that name. But I went with the name Heaven instead. But yeah, I was gonna name her Brooklyn. But happy birthday. Yeah, but anyway, everything's still going the same. Like I said, still working the same job, still coming here on the weekends. I'm still out and enjoying life. Trying to, as always, y'all probably talked about this. Um, probably talked about this for the last 3 or 4 years. Still attempting to try to lose some weight. I'm doing what I can to lose it. Brad, yeah, annoying. Okay, whatever. Um, Child, these people know they getting blocked. I don't know why people just that they got time in the day to just try to go on people's channels. I'm one of those people though. It takes you really it takes a lot to get under my skin. I don't have too much faith in people in their I'm gonna say I think you get more spam. You get more. You get more spammers or whatever they call them. Then you get your actual channel subscribers. Anyway, yeah, I named her Heaven. And yeah, but I love the name Brooklyn. Y'all, if y'all watching my channel, y'all know I don't have any grandchildren, and I've already picked out names for my grandchildren if my children would allow me to name them. But I know it's not, they probably wouldn't because my oldest daughter, she doesn't have any kids. She wants to have them. I don't know how she plans to have them. But she's already picked out her name for her first child, if she has a child, ever has a child. And the names that I have, they don't like them. Like I always like the name Carrington. I love that name. And I gave it to my daughter. I was like, "Oh, if I ever have a girl grandchild, I would name her Carrington." And she was like, y'all gonna like." She was like, "I would never name my daughter Carrington. I know a Carrington, and she's a whore." I'm like, "Girl, first of all, we're not calling people whores around here who just trying to live a little, live a lot maybe." But anyway, hi Aubrey. That's another pretty name. I have a nephew named Aubrey. My niece was so infatuated with Drake, she named her son Aubrey. Um, but yeah, so if you're new to this channel, y'all know this channel, it was started off being just totally about nursing because I am a nurse. It is 2025 now, so I have been a nurse for 24 years. First 18 of those years. Well, let's start. I was a CNA for about a year. Back when minimum wage was like $4.25, and I was making $4.30 as a CNA. I was a CNA for about a year, on and off, because I would leave like I would go from working being a CNA to working at a gas station, and at that time I was making more money working at the gas station than I was being a CNA. When I decided to get a little more when I started, when I got to that third child, y'all, I was like, this work being a CNA wasn't gonna cut it for me personally because of I knew the circumstance that I was in at the time. I was living in a low income apartment, and I know I didn't want that to be. I didn't want to remain in that, and I know what I was making at that time. By the time that I decided, because when I became a CNA, I was 17, and when I turned 21, I knew that I didn't. This wasn't going to be. It wasn't going to be the life for me. Even though I wasn't working, I was working as a CNA, but I would quit and I would go work at Pizza Hut because Pizza Hut at one point back then I was like shift leading at the age of like 20, and I was making, I think I was at like $9 an hour. I mean, this is now at this point minimum wage was like 7.15 or 7.25, I can't remember. But I left to go to school to be a nurse, so I became an LPN at 22 or 23. I can't remember, y'all. So 20, I don't know if I was 22 or 23. I know when I started school, I was 22. It was only a year program. So, no, I lied. It was 18 months because I did 6 months of prereq, jumped in and did a bunch of prereqs in 2 semesters for my LPN. And then I went right into the LPN program. So I was an LPN for 18 years. And I always told myself I was going to go back for my RN before I was 30. At the age of 30, I did enroll for my RN program, but I was too much into, I don't want to say in the streets, but the school I went to was 3 hours away from where I was living, and it wasn't practical. I don't know what in my mind told me I can go to school 3 hours. Was it 3 hours away? It was like a 2 hour ride, 2 hour, 15 minutes. I don't know what in my mind told me to go back to that school, but it didn't work out. So I quit and then I didn't re enroll for another 6 years. When I did re enroll this time, I re enrolled. I feel like it was the right time in the right school. Well, child, I say the right school, but y'all know I don't like that. I hate that school. I never recommend anybody to go there. But I re enrolled and I went in and I achieved my RN. Hi, Natasha. A profile pic that's familiar to me. But yeah, so got my RN, and then went and I got my ADN, my RN, and then a year later got my, was it a year later? A year and a half. Cause time fly by so fast, y'all. We're a week away from February. Um, but I know in 2021 I completed my BSN. And now I'm content on my job. I'm content with my nursing license. I'm content with my life where I am now. A couple of my peers have already achieved their master's degrees. One of them that we kind of stay in touch. She's in school for her master's in education, and yeah, yeah. So anyway, um, so yeah, I just jumped in, but that was just a background for anybody who's new on here, who's going into the nursing field. Y'all know I have videos on this channel where I try to tell people about other healthcare paths that is not nursing, because I don't think a lot of people realize how stressful nursing is. I think they jump going into it, because I have never in my life seen so many people wanting to be a nurse, and I'm not saying that to dissuade anybody, but I have never in my life seen so many people going to school to become a nurse. And then some of the videos I see online with nurses, I'm just like, a lot of people like to say, they just having fun, they need a break and all that. Yeah, that's what I'm about to say. That's what I'm about to talk about, Natasha. A lot of people saying like nurses doing these videos and they need a break and they just trying to have fun and it's stressful and all this. Y'all, the stuff I see online with these videos with these nurses, I'm like, mm, I don't want to say bottom of the barrel, but the behaviors I'm seeing, I don't know. This one video I saw with this girl on top of this person's head doing the dance. And a lot of people are saying she's a nurse because she has a stethoscope on. And I don't know if she's necessarily a nurse. She could be, but if y'all been in nursing as long as I have, y'all know there are people who are not nurses who put stethoscopes on, I guess to make themselves feel like I don't know, they feel like they got on scrubs, so they just going to throw a stethoscope on. I have worked with some CNAs who wear stethoscopes, and I'm just like, why do you even have that around your neck? But it is what it is. If she is a nurse, that was very tacky. And for her to be on that patient head like that, I'm like, y'all, I've just seen some things that I just think is so distasteful. And a lot of people like to say it's because I'm old and my age and all that. But no, honey, it's distasteful. I saw the video with the DON had the broom, um, like threatening to hit the patient with the broom. And I'm pretty sure that patient probably had dementia. Maybe the patient didn't have dementia. I don't know. And y'all know I've worked in long-term care for a long time. And I have had residents, I say patients, but in long term care, they're called residents. I've had residents come after me, like to get violent with me. And y'all know what I did? I ran. Honey, I ran to some safety and some security. Okay. I had a patient that took the whole Silent Night off my cart and threw it. Y'all know that thing is heavy. I never threatened a patient to do any harm to them. I ran to somewhere where I was safe, and then I called the doctor to get some type of medication to give that patient, or I called an ambulance to come pick that patient up, because I'm not going toe to toe with a patient, because I don't care how much you feel like. And sometimes I do feel like sometimes there are patients in their right mind who verbally and physically attack you. I'm running and I'm calling 911 if have to be. I am not opposed to calling 911 on a patient. I'm sorry. Um, but I would never get a broom. I would never get a broom at a patient, honey. I'm gonna run if I gotta lock myself in the bedroom. I'm just getting away and I'm gonna call 911. I'm gonna call an ambulance. It is getting crazy, Natasha. But those type of patients, those dangerous patients, they've been around. They not new. We just seeing them because they on camera, but they're not new. There've been patients like that for a long time. And do put your safety. A lot of people like to. I'm gonna put my safety above all else, because I have a family to raise. When I leave this job, I got a family to take care of. And yeah, there's gonna always be another job, but there's only gonna be one nursing license for me. And if that nursing license is what's feeding my family, yeah, I'm going to protect myself. And I probably would have resigned that job. I probably would have quit. I probably would have quit. Um, and Natasha, I don't work in long-term care anymore. I don't even work PRN in long-term care anymore. But I worked long-term care forever. So I've come across some violent residents, and I'll quit. I'm not opposed to quitting. I'll quit. There are how many long-term care facilities? And one thing I'm gonna do is get an order for some Haldol. One thing I'm gonna do is call and get me a order for some Haldol or some Zyprexa, or I'm gonna call 911. So that's how I always dealt with it. Because you can't say I'm doing any harm to a patient if I ran from them. That's not neglect. If they threatening my life and I go behind this nurse's station and I just stay there and they have their tantrums, they're gonna have their tantrums till the police show up or till the ambulance show up or whatever. I'm not touching them, whatever. I've never had a problem. I've never gotten in trouble or had a problem with throwing my hands up, backing away, going behind the nurse's station for my safety. Because I feel like a lot of people, a lot of the residents come in there with the doctor, because if they have a diagnosis for certain behaviors that cause certain behaviors, they're gonna always be right. When it comes down to it, they're gonna always be in the right. But if you do anything to them, you're gonna always, outside of not even self-defense, but trying to block, if you touch them in any type of way, they're gonna always see you as being at fault. But I see, like I said, some of these videos I see, yeah, labor and delivery. When I was, I hate to say when I was younger, I wanted to work labor. I wanted to work with babies. I wanted to work in the like NICU when I was younger, when I was a younger nurse. But as I got older, I didn't want to do it anymore. And I think I'm not trying to be funny. It's because I had so many kids. I didn't want to work around babies anymore. But yeah, that's a good specialty. That's a low key, low stress specialty. The only thing with labor and delivery is the heartbreak you might have. Um, the heartbreak you might feel, if you know where I'm coming from working in labor and delivery. It could be heartbreaking. And I know me, I cannot handle any type of um I can't handle, okay, I'm gonna put this. If you have to be a part of a delivery and it's say it's a stillborn or anything to that capacity, my heart can't handle it because I love kids. My heart can't handle it. And I think I would be that person that would be boohoo crying along with the family members. And that's yeah, I can't. You can't be the nurse supposed to be there consoling and but you crying as hard as the as hard as the parents. So that's the only reason I think I couldn't do that specialty. I realized I couldn't do that specialty. Anything working with kids and peds, sick kids, I can't do it. My heart, I would, when I tell you, I would be boohoo crying on the job. They'll be like, look, she got to go because she can't even keep her emotions in check. And I don't care. Sometimes, okay, so working in long-term care, working with the elderly. Oh, thank you, Celeste. I got these right off Zenny. I think they were like 12.99. Working with might have been 13. I don't know. They were real affordable. I know that. Working with the elderly. Sometimes I see it as, when you're 80, 85, 90. I look at it as you lived a long life. Hopefully, you lived the life that you wanted to live at that age. A certain time, as life progresses, we all want to leave here. And I can only pray that I get to see 80, 85, 90. I can only pray that I get to see that. And I hope by the time I hit that age, I have lived a full, productive life. My kids are self sufficient. I know my family will mourn, but if I lived a full life, y'all, that's kind of what I think when someone passes away and they're elderly. Elderly to me, the goalpost moves and the older I get, because when you're in your 20s, you look at somebody that's 50 and be like, oh, they so old. When you get to 30, 50 don't become old no more. You're thinking more like 70. As you get to 40s, you're looking like 60 is not old, 65 is not old. So to me, I'm 47. If I can get to 80, 85, 90, y'all, with the life I've lived so far, I haven't done all that I wanted to do, but trust me, I'm going to do, if the Lord spare my life and I get to see it, when I hit 85, I can say that I've done what I wanted to do. And I don't want it to be and it won't be as hard on me passing away as if I passed away at a younger age, if you understand what I'm saying. So I kind of, when it comes to that, I always had a problem with consoling the families. Um, but that's how I think I'd be like thinking, hey, I'm on a YouTube live. You want to say hey? No, you ain't got to. Anyway, what you wanted though?
You want to start thinking about something on juices, as he put his soul back before my juice.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But that's how I feel working with the elderly. I just, at a certain age, I'll be like, they in their retirement age, but I'd be like, hopefully, they live the life that they want to live. You hit your 80s and 90s, hopefully you lived a full life. I know my granddaddy passed away, I think he was 89. I can tell you that man that man lived his life, okay? He did what he wanted to do before he passed away. I'm not in long-term care anymore, Celeste. I work with the state agency, and it's something like long-term care. I really don't want to say where I work because you never, child, people be looking for you. And I kind of know some of my subscribers already know where I work because they live in the city that I live in. But it's something like long-term care because even though um, my clients are not all elderly, they're all have some type of disability where they have to be looked after 24 hours. So it's like long-term care, but it's not with the amount of patients that I would have in a long-term care facility. But the rules and the regulations and the policies are almost just like in a long-term care facility. But yeah, but I've done long-term care for so many years that I can speak on it with a certain level of knowledge because I did it for so many years. I did long-term care for what, 20 years? Out of my 24 years, I think I'm at 24 years. I did like 20 years of long-term care. So, but yeah, though, like that patient that I saw where the resident, because in long-term care, they're residents, where the DON had the broom threatening. I don't know what would possess her to do that. She know that is a no-no. She could probably lose her license. She could probably lose her license. I mean, she never hit him. I think she swung it at him. I don't know if she made contact or not, but just the threat of harm, she could lose her livelihood for that. I would have called y'all. I would have called the doctor so fast, or called 911, or the ambulance, somebody to pick him up so fast to gain control of that situation. Yeah, she been charged. I would have left the job before I before I lose my license, honey. I would have left that job. I would have stepped out. Like I said, I would have called 911. People who can actually get that under control without losing their livelihood. And that's why I try to tell people, a lot of people going into nursing job, it ain't all, it's not, let me tell you, before I have a family member tell me they want, well, if I have a family member that tell me they want to be a nurse, I would recommend PT, OT, RT so fast. I would recommend that so fast to them. Be like, are you sure that's what you want to do? Yeah, it's not. It's honey. Let me tell you, it ain't going into it young too. But everybody taking that leap now, and everybody wanting to be a nurse. I'm not gonna say too much because they need nurses because there are nurses who don't even want to be nurses no more. So, and they say there are nurses that go to school, become a nurse, and don't even make it a year, and they quit. And I'll be like, y'all went through all that schooling and quit. And I think it's because a lot of people, they stay on these jobs where they so stressed. You ain't got to stay on that job. You know how many jobs there is out there for nurses? Y'all can go work behind the desk. Do not stay in a stressful situation. Y'all see all my grades, y'all? They just everywhere. Hmm. Straight from school to jail. But you know what? That nurse on that video, she looked to be a little up in age, like not elderly, but she didn't look like she was in her 20s or 30s. So, and for her to be a deal, I mean, I don't know, child, because they'll let you be a DON 2 months out of school these days. I told y'all about the nurse I work with who went from LPN to DON. And I'm like, he wasn't even a good nurse. Y'all let him become the DON, but okay, being a DON is a little different, I guess. Well, yep, straight from school to jail. I'm telling you, they better think about some other fields. Yep. And then, like, even when I became a nurse, when I first got my LPN license, I went straight into the hospital. People weren't as sick back then as they are now. All these having these 4, 5, 6 comorbidities, they weren't. It wasn't as bad as it is now. People now are sick, definitely sick, and sick and heavy. And look at me, I'm here heavy as I am. People are sick and they are heavy. So, and I'm speaking as one of the heavy people. People are sick and people are heavy now. It's getting harder and harder to care for patients. Yeah. I heard a story about a nurse. I don't know if she was documenting on the patient on the resident, because it was in long-term care. They don't know if they were documenting anything on the resident, but they say the resident went out on the porch and they found the resident dead on the porch, but the nurse went almost the whole shift, never laid eyes on the resident, and they found the resident dead on the porch or something. I've heard about a resident eloping, and the nurse was documenting on the resident or whatever, but the police called the facility and asked them where they missing a resident, because the resident was somewhere out in the community. And let me tell you, it is hard to keep up with all them residents. When you're a long-term care nurse and the residents can come here and go there, like you have residents in long-term care. She wasn't trained on elopement. Yeah. And that's why I don't understand, Natasha, how some of these nurses come straight out of school and go straight into agency. How? How you gonna be an agency nurse straight out of school? I don't understand it. She wasn't trained on elopement, but so what, did she not do anything? Like, did she know the resident was missing? Yeah. And then let me tell you another thing these jobs do. They'll write up a little something like a little in-service. They'll write it up, have you read it, have you sign it. You signed it, that means you was trained on it. So if they got anything with her signature on it pertaining to elopement, that's a wrap. So who did she get the keys from? She was running late and the nurse before her left without. So how did she get the keys? Because I wouldn't have set them keys until you gave me the report, especially as a new grad. Why you took the keys without a report? And you, to be honest, you should lay your eyes on each patient when you get report. They do. They be everywhere. And some of them even have the right to leave the building. But they sign themselves, like the last place that I work in long-term care was my PRN job. We had about 4 or 5 of them that would sign themselves out, be all across the railroad track, be everywhere. How we had one that left and was going like overnight. She signed herself out, was going overnight, and the supervisor found her the next morning walking the streets. They be everywhere, y'all. That's why it's good for some facilities have books at the nurses station. Like if you're going to therapy, if they're going to activities or whatever, whoever is taking them those places, they have to sign them out off the unit. But it is hard to keep up with them. It is hard. Yep. And they be all over. Child, I had one that was around the back of the building because guess what? The door didn't have an alarm on it. Yeah, they don't. But the nursing schools never prepare nurses for the real world. It's always on the job that you're going to learn what's really going on. Yep, they don't prepare you. They prepare you for the test. That's it. But when you get out here in the jungle, it's a rude awakening. Yep. Yep. Like I said, one of my most recent, it wasn't recent because I haven't actually worked at the long-term care facility it's been about 3 or 4 months now. But the patient got out the door because the door didn't have alarm on it. But we didn't know the door didn't have an alarm. So of course we're gonna queue in. We're gonna queue into an alarm going off for an elopement. But if the door don't have an alarm, how are we supposed to know a patient went out here? 2 patients went out. Both of them had dementia. 2 went out. One said he was the husband, the other said she was the wife. They both got out the door. The only way we knew they got out is because the whole shift they were sitting in a certain spot, and when we came around that, now mind you, I'm down the hall passing medications. The whole time they were sitting in a certain area, one of the CNAs didn't see them there anymore, and she looked, they were already out the door. But the alarm wasn't on. Both of them had Wanda guards on, but the alarm wasn't on the door. We were able to get one of them back in, no issue. She didn't put up a fight. Baby, when I tell you to get that man back in, when I tell you he was swinging on us, it took 3 of us to get him back inside. And then we called maintenance, and that's when we found out there was no alarm on that door. What? But you got Wander. Child, if something would have happened to him though, it would have been on us. That's why I don't like it. Yep. So when there's not an alarm on the door, they're supposed to have somebody assigned to sit at that door 24 hours a day. If there's no alarm on the door, they have to pay somebody to sit at that door 24 hours a day. I don't know how long that door hadn't had an alarm, but that facility. And then they didn't want you to document that there was no alarm on the door. Oh, who? Okay. Alarm did not activate. Sure did in my documentation. Mm-hmm. Yep. But it's kind of dangerous becoming a nurse now. Yeah, it's a setup. How you not gonna tell us? How you not gonna tell the workers the alarm don't work on this door, but we got wanderers on this floor with wander guards, wanderers in the building. How you not gonna tell us this? And a lot of patients they have dementia, but they watching to see they watching to see you coming in and out the door. They watch. They don't hear no alarm go off. They gonna try to go out that door, and that's exactly what happened. At night at that. We had to run out there, and 2 of us one had to be in the front trying to stop him while he trying to swing on us, and there was 2 in the back, and we had to get him in that wheelchair, lift the legs up on the wheelchair so he couldn't touch the ground, and roll him back in the building. And then I ain't gonna lie to y'all, it was against it was a fire hazard, but I had to put something in front of that door to block them from going out, something that they couldn't move. Cause how else I'm gonna keep them in there? How we gonna get out where y'all not bringing nobody in to watch the door? How we gonna stop them from going back out there again? Cause now he knows he can get out that door. He gonna keep trying. So I had to put something in front of the door to lock it in place and block it. And yeah, that was one of my last shifts at that place. But they're going to always try to protect themselves. The facility is going to always try to protect themselves. If something happened, they're going to always try to put it on the nurse or one of the staff members. And it's most of the time it's going to fall on the nurse because we're supposed to be supervisors over the CNA. So most of the time, if it's something of that nature, it's going to fall on the nurse. And documentation is a big issue because a lot of people document things that did not happen or they didn't observe, or they didn't do. Like that nurse who documented, they were documenting on what wound care was it? This was in South Carolina. They was documenting on wound care that was being performed, but it wasn't being performed, and it didn't get performed what for like 2 or 3 days. Yeah, it is a lot. It's a lot. And that's in long-term care. In the hospital, it's not much better, y'all. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's any I mean, I used to really go hard for long-term care, and I still will go hard for long-term care because I think because I was in it for so long. But one, like I said, that one shift that I worked, I think I talked about it, where they put me on a hall and it was like four wanderers. And that's when I realized, oh no. And I told them, if y'all ever put me back on this hall, I'm quitting. I'm walking out. Before I even, if I come in here and I'm on this floor, I'm walking out because y'all not gonna put, no, that's a setup. Four wanderers, four confused wandering patient to one nurse. And then y'all got people signing Q 15-minute checks. Ain't nobody can't lay their eyes on the people every 15 minutes. Y'all need to put them on one-on-one. And they never assigned me to that floor again. Sometimes y'all got to stand up for yourself and say, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I hate that it has to be like that because it's like the care of the patients. Because they going to find somebody to do it. But it just ain't going to be me. And then in the hospital, a lot of people love the hospital, but y'all, I told y'all it wasn't for me. It was too much. And it might be because I was on the med-surg telemetry unit, but I just feel like the patients that they're putting on these specialty floors now, they need to be on a higher level of, they need to be on the floor that can cater to a higher level of acuity. Like why you got a cardizem drip on a med-surg floor? And cardizem is a heart medication, y'all. Why you got somebody on a cardizem drip on a med-surg floor? Why you got somebody on a Lasix drip, which is considered a cardiac medication? They use it a lot on the cardiac floors. It's a diuretic, but why you got somebody on a Lasix drip on the med-surg floor? We ain't equipped for that. We don't, no. Don't put nobody with an insulin drip on a med-surg floor either. Like, any medication I feel like that needs to be titrated, don't put them on the med-surg floor because we already dealing with 5 to 6 to 7 other patients. Don't put them on the med-surg floor, but they're doing it now. I had a friend of mine told me she got called for a deposition the other day because of a patient that she worked with while doing a travel assignment. They called her in for a deposition. Her and another nurse who was a fairly new nurse. I think she had only been a nurse less than 2 years, but she was doing a travel assignment. They called her and that nurse in for a deposition. She said she remembered the patient. I think it was an issue with the patient IV. Something with the IV. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was the IV was infiltrated. Something happened with the patient and the IV. And they called her in for a deposition. And I'm like, child, you can get called in on the deposition for a patient you hadn't worked with in 5 to 6 years. I got called in for a deposition on a patient, on a resident from a long-term care that I had worked with. This, according to the documentation, it was 5 years prior to me being called in for that deposition. I didn't remember that patient, but they showed my documentation where I documented on the patient and where I signed off the MAR. And all I can go by was what my notes said. It was like, did such and such happen? I said, well, on here, if I documented it, it happened. That's all I can go off. But guess what? If it was my shift and this was during the time we were signing MARs, if there was one hole on that MAR that I didn't sign, they could get me for neglect. Because one hole wasn't signed during the time that I was working. That means I neglected care of that patient. But I think this resident ended up passing away. I don't know. The family was suing for something, and I was one of the nurses that took care of the resident during their time at that facility. And I think close to maybe the time that the patient might have passed away, but the patient ended up resident. I get confused saying resident and patient because some places they're called hospitals, they're called patients, long-term care, they're called residents. The resident ended up getting sent to the hospital, ended up passing away, but within a certain time frame, I was one of the nurses that cared for that resident in the nursing home. So I got called in for a deposition. But it's almost, yeah, scary to become a nurse because everything falls on you. I heard about a nurse administering the medication that the doctor ordered. It was the wrong medication, but the nurse didn't have the training and the experience to know. Yeah, 5 years. I think I got called into the deposition in 2019, and the documentation was from 2014. 5 years later. Yep. 5 years later. And when I read them notes, I couldn't tell you what that patient looked like. I couldn't remember a thing about that resident. But my name was right there on where we were paper. We were still writing charting on paper. We were doing paper Mars in 2014 at that facility, and there was right there my name, my initials. But I couldn't tell you a thing about that patient, that resident. And I was sitting there trying to remember too, and I was like, "Girl, you ain't gonna remember." Certain residents you remember, and certain experiences you remember. Like if something happened with that patient, like of course you're gonna remember. But I couldn't tell you who that resident was. But it was 5 years later I got called in for a deposition, and I'm only assuming that they might have settled out of court. I don't know. I got called in for the deposition. They never contacted me again outside of that. But I was nervous, y'all, because that was the first time that ever happened to me. But yeah, it's scary. You risking your life. You risking your freedom to be a nurse. That's what a lot of people don't realize. You risking your freedom becoming a nurse. And you could think you did everything right and you do one thing wrong, and that could be that one thing that have you behind the bars. So there are some jobs that are safe jobs. I call them safe jobs as a nurse. Yeah, medical assistant. But I tell people only because of for financial purposes, I always encourage you to go to school for nursing instead of medical assistant, but I don't know how it is everywhere else. Let me just say that because I've had people come under that video that told me they made such and such as a medical assistant, but I've never known a medical assistant to make what a nurse made as far as the LPN. But I know medical assistants, sometimes the schooling is just as long. Like it's just as long and it's just as costly. And there are some jobs I consider safe jobs as a nurse, with like working in a doctor's office. I consider that a safe job. Working in say in public health, say like at DHEC or places like that, I consider that a safe job, and that's some good benefits working for the state. Some jobs I consider safe jobs, but when you starting to work with them jobs, the more it seem like the more the job pay you, the heavier the risk. There's nothing wrong with being a medical assistant. Nothing wrong with being a medical assistant, but as far as financial financial gain, I say just go on to school for your LPN if you can, because I hear a lot of places they have waiting lists a mile, 2 miles long. But I know some medical assistants, and they've been on the same job for decades because it's so hard being mobile with that medical assistant um, degree or licensure because there are not that many jobs available. So you get one and you kind of hold on to it. Whereas when you got your LPN, you could walk out one job and walk into another, and you don't have to stay stuck on one job. That's one thing I love, honey. I can take my license now and I can go anywhere and get a job, no question asked. I can go to just about, yeah, and they can still work in doctor's office settings. Yep. But I could take my license and go. I think it's like 28 compact states right now. I could take my license to go work anywhere in any of the 28 states because, oh, I'm gonna get a job. I'm gonna get a job. So me going somewhere, moving somewhere, the question of employment is not even an issue for me. But somebody as a medical assistant, it's not gonna be as easy for them to have mobility with their career path. And I did it as an LPN. When I was an LPN child, I worked in Georgia. Did I work in Georgia? Yeah, I worked in Georgia. I worked in North Carolina. I would have worked in Virginia because I went, did an interview in Virginia and got the job, got hired the same day, but I never did that move. But it's just that easy. Now, that's one good thing about that nursing license, that mobility. The mobility and the pay now. But the pay pre-COVID, it wasn't all that, but it was good, but it wasn't all that. But now, post-COVID, like I think my nephew right now, he's been an LPN now. I think it's been 2 years. He's making $38 an hour on a staff job. And I'm looking like, how you making 38 an hour? Now that might be with his shift diff. Because the last time I talked to him, 35 was his base pay. So it might be with his shift diff 38. But even 38, y'all know I was an LP. It took me 18 years to even get to $27 as an LPN pre-COVID in long-term care. So I think his base pay, because he told me his base pay was 35. So I'm thinking the 38 come with a shift differential. But his base pay being 35 as an LPN in long-term care, that's good. He told me out his own mouth 35. His mother told me 38. But I'm thinking that's with his shift differential. Because I told her, I said, well, he told me 35. And 35 is still good. But he's not in South Carolina. I think he's still in Florida. Because he had moved to Jacksonville, which is still strange because I heard Florida doesn't pay well. But yeah, he does long-term care. So that 38 may be with the shift differential. But still, that's good. He making more than I made as a new grad RN. He's making more than I made. Because when I was a new grad RN, the most I made was 33 an hour, and that was in long-term care. But like I said, those numbers was post-COVID, honey. You can't look at an LPN right now and offering them. You try offering them. Well, I ain't gonna say that because I don't really know the numbers now, but I know LPNs out here looking for 30 plus an hour. And it's like, why would I take 30 when I can go on an agency app and hit 35? But he's doing it on a staff job. Yep. But I'm getting hungry, y'all. I'm getting hungry. I don't know what my daughter, I think she baked some chicken. But yeah, some of them jobs, yeah, they're safe. I almost feel like my job is a safe job only because I only work with at the most 11, I think I have 11 clients, 11 patients. They're called consumers. So me telling y'all that probably tell y'all where I work. They're called consumers, but the most I have is 11. And it's real cut and dry, repetitive. Everybody is a full code. And trust and believe with everybody being a full code, if something go wrong, I'm sorry, you got to go to the hospital. You got to go. You got to go. I'm going to do what I can here. He told me he was staff. But I'll ask him again and then I'll get back to y'all. He told me he was staff at a facility in Jacksonville. Now, that's what he told me. But I do know here in South Carolina, he was making 33 as a staff LPN. But he moved to Florida. 35 with 2 nurses, that's good. Because here you're gonna have 35 with 1 nurse. Most of the most places I work long-term care. At night shift, you're gonna have 32 nurses with 35. You're gonna have 1 nurse with 35. But you will have 2 aides because they like to say you can have up to 22. So you will have 2 aides with 35 on a good night. But Tayru, I will ask him again next time I talk to him. Cause he don't have a reason to lie to me, but sometimes people tell you stuff to make things seem better than what they are. But I know he wouldn't even work for $20 to $22. He wouldn't do that because he was making more than that here. So he's not gonna go there and make 22 an hour. But I would ask him, was he agency? But he told me he was staff because he only moved there because he got the offer. He wanted to get the offer before he moved. And I don't think he would move like he actually moved there. I don't think he would move there with it. Well, he might. Some people might move with an agency offer. Oh, honey, I love a 5-star facility. I worked at one. I worked at one facility. It was a 5-star facility. And you can almost feel the 5-star when you walk through the door. And it was a long-term care facility. But when I tell you they catered to them residents, and the DON, she made sure she kept that 5-star status, honey. Yeah, some 5-star facilities, you could tell when you work there that they are 5-star. But like I said, I only worked at one. Now there was another one I worked to. They built it. They worked at getting their 5-star status, and they were 5-star for I think about 2 years. But that facility, that administrator, she was like a sergeant. She was never a nurse. But when I tell you, you would think she was a nurse, the way she used to be all up and through everybody business when it came to them residents. She would, like, if you got called in for any kind of reprimand with the DON, she was right there. I remember I got called in to the DON because of a patient, and she was sitting right there asking me questions like she was a nurse. But she was the administrator, so what could I do? And she was the first one that ever told me about this is before I even got called in for a deposition. She was the first one to ask me, have you ever been called in for a deposition? And I was like, no. And then she told me how that process would go, because that particular patient had swelling in her leg, and it was an unknown origin of how it happened. But the patient had that swelling in her leg before I even, like, she had that before I worked with her. She had that swelling before my shift. And the only reason that it didn't really fall on me is because other people reported she had that swelling. They were like, no, she had this before then, but I didn't document on it. I didn't have any documentation on the swelling. Other nurses before me did, but I didn't. But the lady ended up having a femur fracture, and she was immobile. And so it was like, how did she get this fracture? Oh yeah, on my phone. But Reds, bring me the charger. And so that was the first time. And I was a young nurse then. Not young as in brand new, but I probably had Reds, bring me the charger. Y'all, my phone about to go dead. Y'all know I do this on the phone. I don't use the camera. I had I was maybe 5 years in at the time. Thank you. So that was the first time I even heard anything about a deposition. But that was, like I said, before I got called in for one. And it made sense when she talked to me about it. Because, sometimes you work in these facilities and it don't dawn on you to document everything, because it's like that when you came there. Like, at that time, that was my way of thinking. Like, it was like that when I came in. Like, her leg had that swelling when I came in. And so it didn't dawn on me to document on it because it was already there. But yeah, I didn't document on it. And I guess sometime after the fact, they did a X-ray, and she had a fractured femur. Looks like you have a lot of spots in your area, but you seem to always be on the road. Yeah, a lot of them be rural. Or just about everywhere I work is rural. I'm in the country. I'm in South Carolina. Most of the places are country here, but there are a lot of facilities. If that's what you're talking about, spots. Yeah, because I did a lot of traveling as far as living in one city or county and working in another. Because I'm from originally from one county, but I moved to another. Um, and I would still work in the other counties, and I do a lot of driving on the interstate to get to those places. And so a lot of videos I did, I was driving because I would work like an hour away from where I live, 45 minutes away from where I live. But it's long-term care facilities all up and through here. So it's always somewhere to work. But yeah, I don't work them anymore because I finally somebody I don't know. Like I said, the job I'm on now, I'm gonna stick with it until if they can get rid of me, but I'm not gonna get rid of them. Yeah, this is gonna be my retirement job. And let me tell you, I worked with a nurse the other day, and if any of y'all work with the federal government, um, y'all can let me know. So, hi, Jazz RN. So she works with the federal government, and she's been with them for 20 years. When I tell y'all, I thought she was like 32, 33, 30, because she don't look like she old enough to be working nowhere for 20 years. But she's 45 years old. And so she's been with them for 20 years. So I told her, I was like, oh, you only got 5 more years and you can retire. Because, I always thought working for the federal government, you only had to do 25 years. And then you could just get your retirement, like start getting your money. And she said, no, it has to equal 80, that your retirement, your years of service plus your age has to equal 80. And so I was like, okay, so you've been there 20 years and you're 45, you're at 65. So at first I was thinking she got to work another 15 years. But then I thought about it. I was like, no, because as you get older, you're and still working there. So and I put it at she has to work like another 7 years. And so yeah, because like when she get 25 years, and which is another 5 years. So when she get another, okay, so 5 more years will put her at 25 years of service, and it will put her at 50. So that put her at 75. So 7 more years will put her at 27 years of service, and that'll put her age at 52. So don't that equal? Child, I don't know. Anyway, I think she got like 7, 8 more years of service. I didn't know that's how it worked, y'all. I thought you just do your 25 and you get your money. I didn't know. Mm-mm. But anyway, as it's going now, she can retire at 50. I think she'll be like 54, maybe like 54 and 55 and get her retirement. Y'all, that's good. I so wish I had started working for the federal government when I started my nursing career. I was like, girl, you'll be able to retire in another like not even 10 years. She probably got like 8 more years and she can retire and start drawing. And then she started working with the state because she worked with me with the state. And she said that she does temporary with the state and she invested into the state retirement too. So she'll get her federal retirement and she'll be drawing whatever from the state, y'all. That's the way to go. Y'all know any new nurses, tell them to go work for the federal government. Somebody told me. When somebody told me, they told me I only had to do 25 years, but it's actually you have to do. I mean, at that time, it might have been 25 years, but now it's like your age and your years have to hit 80. But y'all, If y'all got any, y'all know some people graduating with and they're nursing or whatever, tell them go work for the federal government, y'all, because that sounds like a good deal to me. I didn't think when I was younger, when the person told me that and I was starting out in nursing, I was like 23. I think I no, I might have been like 25 when they told me. Had I started in, y'all, I could have been looking forward to retirement in the next few years. But as it is now, my behind got to, if I want to draw anything, I got to do till 62 at least. And that's not even full retirement. But Tyru, I can't even see your profile pic that good. Yeah, they a lot of them. This lady I worked with when I worked at the Department of Mental Health, she retired with age. Okay, she had already did, I don't know how many years she did, because she was already in her 70s. So she already hit retirement. VA, they might have some federal prisons. They have a place where I work that's like a psychiatric federal facility, and they have one wing in that facility that's federal. But yeah, the VA, anything federal. This when you apply for it, ask them if they're federal. They're federal, they go for it. But yeah, so let me see how she told me. So she came, okay, so she had hit with full retirement age, which I think was 65, because y'all know it's changed now. I think it's based on the year you were born now. So I think full retirement age for me, because of when I was born, is now 67. But she had hit 65, but her retirement wasn't enough. So she came back and worked for the state, or either she was close to 65. She might have been 60. I don't know how old she was, but she had already hit retirement age. So she came back and worked for the state and worked exactly 8 years and retired again. So she had that state retirement on top of whatever other retirement she had. But then she said she got home, she was collecting the checks, but she was still spending the money. And so she came back to work. She left in January. And y'all, when I left there, because when I started, I only worked there for like 6 months. So I started in January and she was there for maybe like 2 weeks and then she left. And I left there in July. And by the time I left in July, she had already come back and she was there for maybe like 3 weeks before I left. But but she's still collecting all of her retirement. And I don't know how she's doing it because she's still collecting her retirement, but she's back working for the state. I don't know, child. I be trying to ask people questions, but yeah, a lot of the nurses retire, but they don't fully retire. They come back and they work part time. And I hate to say it, y'all, because I think I'm probably gonna be one of them nurses. I was talking to somebody tonight, and I was like, I was like, I'm so ready to retire. I said somebody's son need to retire me for real. But then I told I told him, I said, you know what? I don't think I'm going to retire because I don't want to be reliant on somebody else's finances. So I think even after I do retire, I'm gonna probably still work like a day or two a week. Cause I've been off of work some like for 4 or 5 days straight, y'all, and I be sitting home thinking I could have been some on somebody's job making some money. Yeah. And then I know some nurses who can't retire because they 70 with a mortgage, still with a mortgage payment. I work with a nurse now who can't retire because she hit the age. She worked for the agency I'm working now. She's already worked 40 years for them, and she retired, but she had to come back because she went through a divorce. She had to get another place. I think if I'm correct, she and they ended up having to sell their property. Her and the husband had to split it, and she ended up coming back to work. So I don't know if retire. My mother right now is fully retired. She did the early retirement at 62, and she was able to work so many hours. not hours, but she was able to make so much money. I think a year you're allowed to make so much a certain amount of money and not over that. And then I think once you hit full retirement age, I need to sit down and talk, go to the Social Security office and ask these people about this. I think once she hit full retirement age, she was able to work as many hours as she wanted to and still draw her retirement. But she fully retired a year ago at the age, I think my mother is 72 now. 70, so she fully retired at like 71. But you know what? Now that she's fully retired, she's sitting home. She's gaining weight. She's not being real mobile. She walking with like a little limp now. I told her she gonna have to get out and start finding stuff to do. I know she don't want to go back to work, but it's like when you sometimes when people retire, they decline. And I think that's what's happening with my mother. She's home, just sitting in that recliner, watching TV, and yeah. Mhm. So what type of work are y'all working long term care? Are any of y'all working in the hospital? What type are y'all nurses? We can talk about other stuff other than nursing, y'all. I joined this group on Facebook for women in the area that I come to on the weekends, and they do a lot of events. I'm about to start going to some of these events with these ladies because I joined it for their book club, but they have like a lot of events that they section off by age groups, and I think I'm gonna start going to some of these events because I be here every weekend and I mean, I do things, but like I'm here 4 days and I really don't do a whole lot in those. Like this weekend, I didn't do anything all weekend. I went and visited my mother and, took my son out and rode around and stuff, but they be doing different things like going to different events. They be setting up meet and greets and just getting to know each other. And I think I'm gonna start doing that, especially in the age group of the 40, 50-year olds. So if I'm allowed to record the first event that I go to, because they got an event January the 30th. I think there's a Harris Teeter somewhere here that has like a bar set up in it or something and seats. Oh, home peas. Do you work with that? Now that's one area I never really got into home health. I think I did one home health like assessment and then that was it. Hey Deb the dude, we just talking because I ain't been on here so long. We was talking about nursing and now we just talking. I was talking about some of these stories going around with a lot of these long-term care and these nurses just getting themselves into trouble and how these videos going around social media, especially with the one with the girl dancing on the patient. They're saying it was a patient. I don't know. Sometimes I'm thinking maybe that wasn't even a patient. I don't know how she was dancing on his head and stuff. Like, but yeah, I got a nurse I graduated with. She's doing home peas. She has one client and she's had, you know what? I think she stopped. She stopped because she called me about going to work at a long-term care facility. But she had one client that I think she had to do 6 hours a day with that client. And I think that client had a trait. I can't remember, but yeah, I had never gotten into home health. But I know a lot of nurses are doing it. You 13 years. Ooh, honey, you got ER experience. You don't need no advice on long-term care. You a month in? So you do supervise like shift supervisor or are you the DON super like you're the DON or you supervise? And how has it been a month in? The hardest part about long-term care being a supervisor is getting people to do their jobs. That's about it. People don't want to do their jobs. And you probably already experienced that. People don't want to do their jobs. And the scheduling and having staff. Staffing is horrible. You unemployed, Jazz? Are you looking to get back into it? Like, oh, you the supervisor. The supervising is easy to me. Um, outside of, and it's, I'm not even gonna say when they want you to work the cart, because I was so used to working the cart, because that's what I did all the time, that when I had to supervise, it was nothing for me to get on the cart. But one thing they try to make you do is they try to make you work the cart and fulfill your supervising duties. And I used to have to tell them, look, it's gonna be one or the other. I can't do both. But if you don't have to work, so when I supervised, I did it only every other weekend, and it was basically just to have an RN in the building. And so what they would have me do is they would have me, like if a family came in for a tour, they would have me do the tour of the facility for the family. If a patient had to get sent out to the hospital and they needed an assessment or whatever, I would go do the assessment on the patient, make sure the resident, make sure that the nurse did the documentation that was required. If nurses had any extra issue outside of regularly passing their medication and stuff, I would just step in and help, because I really ain't have much to do. I was just there really to be an RN in the building on the weekends. It was a couple times as a supervisor, I ended up having to work the cart, but they knew I was only going to be there for 8 hours. So they scheduled me to work the cart from like 7 to 3. If I knew ahead of time I had to work the cart, I would tell them I would come in at 7 and leave at 3:30. But if I didn't know until I got there, sometimes I would get there at 8 a.m. and end up having to work the cart. They knew 4:30, somebody better come take these keys, because I'm only going to do my 8 hours. But yeah, it was supervising it was easy for me. The only reason I left it, because y'all know I had took a full-time job. No, I had actually had a full-time job. I was doing the supervising for extra money, and I just got tired of that drive, because it was an hour and 40 minutes, no, hour and a half away from where I live. But how has it been so far? Because you should have a month already. They should have you already in practice. Part-time. Oh, you just moved. Oh, okay. So they don't have an infection control nurse, so they got you doing that job, and care plan coordinator. So you doing MDS too. So you fulfilling three roles. Okay. They have to do. They got you doing. Ain't it? Hell, this new generation of nurses is wild. The new generation of nurses is wild. CNAs. I ain't never. How long have you been a nurse, Deb, to do? Because we could talk. We could talk about this new generation of these coming. I mean, mm-mm-mm. Switch your license from Michigan. Was Michigan a compact state? I don't know how many of them were. Is Michigan a compact state? But these videos I be seeing on social media, Deb, to do, I be like, baby, I would have been so embarrassed that okay, let me tell you, because y'all, I was a young nurse. I was, I didn't grow up in the streets, but I've been in the streets. And I would sometimes feel like I got to conduct myself outside of my job a certain type of way, because I was a nurse. And I used to hate, because like I tell y'all, oh, it isn't? Oh, yeah, you got to do your license. It's not a compact state. What made you do the move? Was it the weather? What made you take that move? Family? Um, but yeah, they off the chain. I like, some of my family members will tell you that they can never let me be their nurse, because they have seen me throwing back the shots of vodka. They done seen me dancing on the dance floor. They done seen me outside of that nursing element, and it was like, I like, my sister told me she would never let me start an IB on her, and I'll be like, girl, you as a nurse, I am. It's all professional when I'm working, you know. But some of these nurses bring the streets to the job. And I'll be shaking my head, and I'll be wanting to say, ooh, it's like it's no professionalism at all anymore. with the CNAs, it's you got to you got to do mental gymnastics to get some of them to do their job. And I got some, like they'll tell you they're not gonna do this and they're not gonna do that, and you be like, this is your job. This is what you got hired to do. Now, one thing with the CNAs, the way I was able to get a lot of them to do their job is that they would see me doing it, and so they'll feel like a lot of them feel like, well, if she'll, you know what I'm saying? Like if they see me go in there and change a patient, then they can't say anything about me being a lazy nurse or this and this and that, because you just saw me go in there and change your patient brief. And sometimes they don't even know I'm doing it. I'll go in the room, the light be on, the patient be like, hey, I need to be changed, honey. I just go ahead and change them. Now, what I didn't do is I didn't always pull the trash and take it to the trash, but because I wanted them to know I changed the patient. So I'll be like, see the CNA and I'll be like, hey, I changed so and so, but I left the trash in the room. They'd be like, oh, thank you. So I would get in and do it. Like even when I supervised during COVID, vitals had to be done on everybody, every shift. So I would go around and do the vitals in the whole building because I really ain't had nothing else to do. And so that was just helping the CNAs out because y'all know y'all ain't getting real vitals half the time in long-term care. Them vitals be made up. So I would go through and do the vitals for the whole facility. And it would take me like a couple hours, but I wasn't doing nothing anyway. And so sometimes they see you doing their job, so they're more compliant to do their job. But yeah, they're lazy. Now see with you saying lazy and ghetto, the nurses and no critical thinking skills, because as far as CNA, ain't too many critical thinking skills is required. Not to be funny, but there's not too many critical thinking skills required as a CNA. But as a nursing, no critical thinking skills. Got to hold their hand through everything. And then sometimes they feel like because you're the supervisor, things that they could have handled on their own, they come to you for everything. Even in the job I got now, let me tell you, where I work at now, I'm one of the RNs in the building, and there's a head care manager for the building. But being that I'm the other RN in the building, sometimes I'll be working alongside other nurses, and they feel like just because I'm an RN, that they come to me with things that I know you can handle on your own. I know you can do these things. Why are you coming to me for it just because I'm an RN? It's like, she the RN, so let her, you can do these things. What? I only work 4 days a week, so who doing it when I'm not here? Because you full-time, you here all the time. I'm here 4 days a week. So who doing it for you when I'm not here? Yeah, sometimes child be like, they don't want to think critical. Oh, your husband's job. Well, I would say welcome to Georgia. I don't live in Georgia. I live close enough. It's gonna be a culture shock. It's gonna be a culture shock. Because I don't know how it is in Michigan. I assume Michigan is city like Jersey. Like I know how it is in Jersey and New York. And it'll be a culture shock coming to Georgia. And I don't care what part of Georgia you're in, you're gonna eat a lot of chicken wings. But I'm Southern, so I'm used to it. But I don't know what made you take that go from working in the ER to long-term care, Deb, to do. Most nurses that go from the hospital to long-term care, you good that you did it for a month. A lot of them don't last that long. That's a culture shock on its own, going from the hospital to long-term care. 1.4, 1.4, yeah. Oh, you couldn't take it anymore? Yeah. Oh, oh, okay. So if you was rural in Michigan and you'll be used to it in Georgia. What do you mean 1.5 good shift out of a CNA? You mean 1.5 hours or 1.5 good 1.5 hours? You're right. And nights, them CNAs don't be wanting to do nothing until 5 a.m. in the morning. That's when they jump up and do it. 4:30 a.m. They're gonna jump up and do everything that need to be done. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that do make a difference but so you haven't been asked to work the cart yet? When they ask you to work that cart, you're gonna see the difference. Because I'm not gonna say it's coming, but every supervisor that I know that have worked in long-term care has been asked to work the cart at one time or another. And if it's something you've never done, yeah. I've never worked in the ER. I've never worked in the ER, but I've talked to nurses who work in the ER, and um, I don't know how you could do the ER because I like to I like to get the patients when they already kind of stable, coming through the door and not being stable. I at my age, I probably could have did it when I was in my 20s. At my age, no, you got to come to me stable already. You got to come to me already medicated. I got to already have some type of game plan on how to get you. Let me tell you, they brought a patient that was going through CWA on a med surge floor. I was all out of my element. I was out of my element. I know how to do the assessment for CY, but for somebody to actually be going through them tremors and going through them hallucinations and stuff and having to actually like do all that Valium and stuff, I was out of my element. I was like, oh, he is not stable enough for this floor. And when I tell you I couldn't leave out that patient room for like 2 hours straight until they got him moved off that floor, I can't deal with that. I couldn't do it. Mm-mm. And that's how I feel like it is in the ER. You don't know what's coming through that door, and you really got to have critical thinking skills in the ER. And I heard they're giving people in the ER up to like five patients now. And I thought what the limit used to be like 3 to 4. And I heard they having like 5 patients in the ER now. So what changed in the past couple of years? I'm just wondering. What changed in the past couple of years? Is it you changed or the acuity of the patients changed? Because to me it feel like the acuity of patients change. Like the patients that I used to get 22 years ago, 23 years ago, or however long it was when I first became a nurse and working the med surge floor, those patients and the patients that I came across working, when was it I worked at the hospital, y'all? 3 years ago? It's different patients, different level of acuities. I think if I was to work with those patients back then, if those are the type of patients we had now, I would probably still be working in the hospital. But they're different. Patients sicker, heavier, and meaner, and the job is, yep, that's exactly that. That's patients sicker, heavier, and meaner. You right about that. And a lot of people don't have respect for nurses no more. They don't care. They're gonna spit on you, kick you, call you all kind of names, and you trying to take care of them. Sicker, heavier, and meaner. You right? I be telling people that, but I don't know if they don't believe me, but I be trying to tell them they are all three of those: sicker, heavier, and meaner. And they're being like that at a younger age. Yes. And see, sometimes I feel like a hypocrite saying that, Deb, to do, because I feel like I'm not one of those people because I'm not meaner, but I feel like I'm heavier and I don't take care of myself the way that I should take care of myself. But me being in healthcare, I don't expect anybody to play Jesus because I know that I know from working with patients that I need to take better care of myself. And sometimes I feel like a hypocrite trying to tell other people how to take care of themselves because I feel like they're gonna look at me and be like, girl, you ain't even take care of yourself. But yeah, they come in there and they expect you to work a miracle. Like I said in one of my videos, they'll come in there, come down from an ICU floor from having a 900 plus blood sugar, being on an insulin drip, come on your floor and on a sliding scale, and family bringing them Bojangles, 2-piece Bojangles with a biscuit and a sweet tea. And I'm checking your blood sugar. And I'm like, and then you fighting me. You don't want me to check your blood sugar, but you sitting here eating Bojangles. You came down from ICU on an insulin drip. I just, At least fake it while you in the hospital. If you're gonna have your family bring you food, at least have them bring you some salad and a bottle of water. At least fake it while you're here. But I get exactly what you're saying. Yep, exactly what you're saying. Cause I'll be feeling like, what's the use? Why am I? Your blood sugar, of course, the blood sugar gonna be 275. He just ate a Little Caesars pizza. Hell, it might be 300 plus. He just sat there and ate the whole box of Little Caesars pizza. And a lot of people use insulin as and I talk about diabetes because this happens so much. It's like, okay, let me go ahead and eat this pizza because I know I'm gonna have to give myself some insulin. No, do things so you don't have to give yourself the insulin. Eat things that you don't have to give yourself the insulin. We will. I tried to, yeah, we will. We'll chat again. And these lives be so unexpected. But I'm gonna try to do better, y'all, and start posting these videos. Cause when they shut down TikTok, and I was so upset for the people on TikTok, and I was like, girl, you sitting here talking upset about TikTok, and you up here got YouTube, and you ain't trying to do nothing with your YouTube channel. You upset about other people losing their livelihood, and you got a means to you got a means of making income or whatever, and you ain't even doing what you're supposed to do. So I told myself 2025, I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna start putting the videos out. Here we are almost in February, and this is my first live, y'all. I'm gonna try to do better. But have a good night, Deb the Dude. Enjoy your late dinner. I need to go eat too. All I had today was a fish sandwich. And I don't know when I'm gonna go in there and eat. Maybe boil some eggs. I don't know. Yep. But y'all, do y'all have any more questions or anything? Like I said, I'm gonna try to. I don't know if the ladies in the group, because I'm about to start doing going out with some of the ladies in this group I found on Facebook. They're around my age. Oh, you worked in the ER? ER is exciting, I know, but I don't need. I say all the time, I don't need that excitement in my life. Um, but I'm gonna try to record if the ladies let me record, because I don't like to record people if they don't, they're not with it. If they let me record, I'm gonna try to start recording some of the outings I'm gonna start doing. And just come on here and talk to y'all. Ooh, excuse me, y'all. Just come on here and talk to y'all a little. And just try to keep up and see what's going on. I don't have any trips planned so far this year, but I do want to go to Vegas. I was talking to Shonda on here the last time I made a video. I do want to go to Vegas, but I'm scared to do a solo trip. I'm gonna see if I can talk one or two of my homegirls into going to Vegas probably sometime this summer. Because that's one place I hadn't been that I never had an interest in going, but I want to go. I don't know why all of a sudden I want to go to Vegas, but I want to go. So see if I can we can plan to head out there. Yeah, but if you already an LPN, you setting yourself up for the same abuse. You already setting yourself up for abuse being an LPN. So yeah, that's all I can say. It ain't no different. You setting yourself up for the same amount of, as an LPN, you setting yourself up for the same abuse. Yeah, I said go for it. It opens up a lot of opportunity. You have a lot of opportunity with your LPN. Not gonna lie to you. You have a lot of opportunity because I job hop with my LPN. I was on a different job sometime every 2 years. Sometimes if I didn't like a job at 30 days, I quit. Getting my RN opened me up for a lot more opportunity. And when you say for a few more thousand a year, It's a little bit more than a few more thousand a year. I will say that, depending on how much you work. Now, I know as an LPN, you can make a lot of money because I know LPNs who made 100,000 a year. That seemed to be the staple go for thing, 100,000 a year. But it's like, how much did you work for that 100,000 a year? You don't have to work that hard for 100,000 a year as an RN. I'm gonna just put it like that. You don't have to work as much. I'm not gonna say you don't have to work as hard, but you don't have to work as many hours to hit that 100,000. So yeah, I will say it's a little more than a few thousand. It's a little more than a few thousand when you compare the hours worked between the two. Hi, Danny Dances too. Your mom is a nurse. Yeah, so you got somebody you could talk to firsthand if that's something you want to go to. Yeah, 12-hour days. I work 12-hour shifts too. That's kind of the go-to. It's not as easy to find jobs doing 8-hour shift as nurses anymore. The job I work, they do 8 hours though, but I can't give y'all 5 days a week. So I do 2 12s and 2 8s. You're 8 years old. Oh, Danny Dances. Honey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You 8 years old, honey. You ain't. Yeah, it's out there. It's there. The money is out there, and the bone. My homegirl just signed a three, which I don't believe in. Well, I believe in them. She just signed for a 3-year contract with a hospital for a $30,000 sign on bonus. I don't think they're offering those bonuses like that for LPNs. So that alone by itself is more than a few thousand, a few thousand a year. Yeah, and she only has to do 3 days a week. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, Tyrone. It's a lot. I ain't gonna lie. And the lack of that's why it's other avenues though, and it you don't have to work in the hospital and you don't have to work in the nursing home. When you get your RN, you could put yourself in a position to never have to come in contact with a patient, client, consumer at all. There are other avenues. So it's worth it. It's worth it. Not trying to push you into it, but there are nurses who never came in contact with a patient at all, but they sign jobs working salary for $80,000 a year. The lady who's the DON where I work, she never comes in contact with the patients where I work, but I can guarantee she probably signed on for at least a 95,000 yearly salary. She never comes in contact with any of the consumers where we work, and she's been there 6 years. But she wouldn't have got that job if she wasn't an RN. And I believe in matter of fact, we have the same degree. She has her BSN, I have her BSN. She's making over salary, she's making over 10,000 more a year than I'm making. More than over 10,000 a year than I'm making. She never comes in contact with a consumer. Never. Unless she actually goes out there and goes into facilities and talk to them, she never has to. So that's why I say if getting your RN is something you want to do, don't let what you go through with the patients dissuade you from doing it, or dissuade, whatever the word is. Don't let it dissuade you from doing it, because you could work a job where you never come in contact with a patient, a consumer, or a client at all. Yeah. But a lot of those jobs, like I said, you're not going to get them unless you have your RN. So I probably need to do a video about jobs you could work as an RN where you don't have to come in contact with a patient. Because like even with Jazz, excuse me, Dev, Dev, the dude that was on here that was saying he's a supervisor at his facility. All of the long-term care facilities I ever worked, in order to be a supervisor, you have to be an RN. You could be, okay, I'm not gonna say he never has to come in contact with the patients. What I will say is, I'm sure in his job description, he doesn't have to actually come in contact with the patients as far as what his job description is. Now, they may ask him to work the cart, but he doesn't have to. So, like even being an infection control nurse in a long term care facility, you never have to come in contact with the patient. You work directly with the nurses in servicing them on CDC policy and things like that, infection control. You don't come in contact with as far as working with them. You might pass them in the hall or something like that, pass them in the hallways, but you don't have to actually come in direct contact with them as far as working with them. And Jazz, you're right, because where I'm salary. They offered me a salary, but I get paid overtime. But if I work there as a part-time nurse, I would make more as a part-time nurse than I make now as a staff nurse. I think Tyrell is asking how long have you been a part-time nurse? I don't know. But I would never dissuade anybody from getting their RN. If they have an LPN, I would never dissuade anybody from getting their RN. You can just go on Indeed and just scroll and scroll. Sometimes I go on Indeed and I put zip codes in for places I don't even live and just scroll and scroll and scroll. Because sometimes I found different positions that I've never heard of just by scrolling on Indeed, and I'd be like, I ain't never heard of that position before, and you'd be surprised. Tyru, ain't no time frame to going and moving on and getting your do it when the time is right for you. It don't matter if you was a nurse for 30 days. If you want to re-enroll into, it don't matter if you just graduated and you want to re-enroll for the RN program. Ain't no time frame. If that's what you're talking about, how long before moving on from your LP and your RN? You say, oh, let me look. I'm looking back at some of these messages. Jazz, you say you think you going back to long-term care? Well, you know what? Once you already worked it and you know what to expect. I know, like I said, a lot of nurses who only did hospital, they were, as far as going back to long-term care, as far as being like a floor nurse, they say it's not for them. I started out in long-term care, so it was easy for me to go from working the hospital to going back to long-term care. Jazz, you a new nurse, but the average years experience for nurses now probably is like 7, because there are so many new nurses who there are more new nurses than long-term nurses. What is the best way to make 100K on a rent? The best way? I don't know if there's a best way. There's different ways for everybody. One of the, I don't even want to say easy because it's not easy. Uh, a quicker way to make it, depending on what type of facility you work in, is to work weekends and work night shift, because that'll put you up as far as the money you earn, because you're gonna make a certain differential for working the weekend and you're gonna make a certain differential for working night shift. So that's probably the quickest way outside of just working an extra overtime shift. There are hospitals now, if you're working in a hospital, that are paying people like an extra $700 a shift just to come work one extra shift, because they are that desperate for nurses. And sometimes I feel like I should just kick myself, because girl, why you ain't out there making like, but for me, I said it a few times. It's not about the money for me anymore. It was at one point, but it's not about the money for me no more. This right here, my mental got to be intact, and my mental ain't intact in them hospitals. But now, Deb, you done ate that fast. Somebody asked what was the best way to make 100K as an RN dev to do. I told them I don't know what's the best way, because the best way for everybody is different. But I know one of the quickest ways for somebody working maybe in the hospital or long-term care is to work night shift and weekends. 2 chicken legs. That's making me hungry, because all I had was 1 fish sandwich today, and I'm hungry, and I shouldn't even let myself get hungry, because now I'm gonna go in there and be in that refrigerator for 20 minutes pulling. I do got a rotisserie in there, though. I bought a rotisserie at Publix yesterday, so I'm gonna go heat up that rotisserie and eat it. Bonus shifts in the hospital. Yeah, I was saying that some hospitals are paying people like $700. Some hospitals paying them $1,000 just to pick up 1 extra shift. You just got to be the one to catch it. Because if somebody just like, if they put it out there, they need a nurse for this shift, if nobody picks it up, and a lot of nurses have caught on into the next tax. You right about that, Deb, to do too, because the higher more you make, you'll push yourself into having to pay more taxes. And that's per paycheck too sometimes. A lot of times per paycheck. I learned that too, that sometimes it's more beneficial to have a second job than to work over a lot of overtime on one job. But yeah, in the hospital, like my friend said, they would pay like an extra $1,500 sometimes for somebody just to pick up 1 shift. But it's like, you gotta, when they send it out there saying they need a nurse. If nobody picks it up, then they start throwing the bonuses out there. So then you start waiting for the bonus to increase. They might throw out a $300. Nobody pick it up, they might throw out $500. And then nobody pick it up. Somebody probably gonna pick it up at $500, but if nobody pick it up, they might throw it to $1,000. You gotta be quick on the draw to get that $1,000 bonus. But my friend, she said that's what they doing in the hospital now. Long-term care, they ain't really throwing out bonuses like that unless they get like really, really in need. You might get a $300 bonus to pick up a shift. Yep, pick it up when they start offering the bonus. When they started offering the bonuses like that, though, I had already left the hospital. And I could kick myself, because when I did work at the hospital, I did an extra shift every week. Every week I was picking up an extra shift, because when I tell you them paychecks pre-COVID, the paychecks used to be so sad. My paychecks used to be so sad working in the hospital. Every 2 weeks, I was maybe bringing home $2,200, and that was working 4 shifts. Yeah. PRN, I wouldn't necessarily say PRN, because most of the time if you PRN, you already know your facility, so you know how to handle and manage things, working agency is probably the easiest way to get thrown to the lions because you don't know nothing about this place you're going to unless you've been there before. Yep. Know what you're doing. PRN, though, when I think of PRN, I guess PRN is agency, but I think of PRN as you work, that's your job. Okay, outside of your normal job. Okay, yeah. Yeah, do know what you're doing because, baby, I done encountered some nurses. Like I said, I tell everybody, COVID done changed the game because these nurses that be coming through, and I ain't gonna, even my nephew was coming in working PRN at a job that I work full time, and I didn't know he was working there because when I started there, he had already been working there. When I tell you them nurses used to talk about him, and I had never ran into him at my job. I didn't even know he was coming there as an agency. When I tell you them nurses used to talk about him because he didn't know what the heck he was doing. And I was all I could do, I'd be like, nobody knew he was my nephew. And then when they would tell me he was doing something that like he didn't know what he was doing, I would tell him, you got to do better. Like you have to like why first of all, why did you even go agency that fast? You've been a nurse like 3 months. Yeah, them agency shifts be crazy. Some of them, I don't know, because I did agency so I was agency so often, but it's a little different because I've been long term care for so many years that yeah, I pretty much can handle. I probably could. I probably can pretty much handle a long-term care shift in any agency. The trick is to get there early, get a thorough report. You got to get there early. You got to get a thorough report. You got to ask them about the different behavior. Who is more what? Ask them. Okay, anything I need to know special about these patients? Do I need anybody act a certain way? Anybody looking to get their meds a certain time? What I need to look out for? What are the numbers for this, and this? But you got to get there early to get that information. You can't get there. Ooh, first night there. Yeah, and she probably didn't get a good report. But yeah, the best thing to do is get there early. I'm telling you, probably get there 30 minutes early and ask all the questions you need to ask. With the numbers to the on-call doctor. Who go to dial? Do anybody go on to dialysis in the morning? You know, with a number to the on-call nurse. Who gonna cut up at what time? Who gonna do this? Who gonna do that? What's something I need to look out for? Oh, this patient gonna act up if you don't give them their meds right at 8 o'clock p.m. Guess what? At 8 o'clock p.m. that patient might get their meds at 7:50. Let me know what I need to know. Yeah, it do be the blind leading the blind, but that's the environment now for nursing, especially in long term care. Unless you become one of them agency nurses that you go to one specific facility all the time, then you get to learn things. Oh, they say no for everything? Not to me, honey, because I guess not for me. I don't know. I guess maybe I don't know. Maybe I asked the right questions. Sometimes I think when I don't know. Sometimes when you ask the questions, they already know. You know what you maybe you know what you're doing, and you know. Mm, I think the only reason, not I think the only reason I stopped doing agency as in long term care as a RN was because I was getting canceled, and it was because I was a RN. Because if they don't have to pay me and they can get an LPN to take the shift, they're gonna cancel me. Oh, you saying they're gonna tell me? Yeah, and all them questions. Yeah, they tell me no all. You know what? But they probably will tell you no if you get there late. Now that's one thing I'm gonna say. I gotta say you gotta get there early because you get there early. First of all, they happy that you actually came in. because it's a 50-50 chance that you're going to show up. So they're happy you even came in, and they feeling like, I know I'm going to get out of here on time because homegirl done walked in the building early. Fill out all beds, including different staff, wanderers, drug seekers. Yeah. It ain't all good. Now I'm gonna tell you, it ain't all good. Cause like I said, I said, one day I was sitting down thinking, I was like, you know what? I get on YouTube and I be sitting here talking about long-term care like it's just the easiest thing, but it really isn't easy. It's really not. And I said I need to stop giving the impression that long-term care is just so easy because I found hospital to be so stressful. It's not easy. It's doable, and if you're good with time management, it's doable. And I'm not gonna lie, that's the most important thing, Jazz. Make sure they breathing. You come in early, you lay your eyes on every patient, which a lot of people don't do. I've kind of got out of the habit of doing it. Some days I'll come into work now and I'll get report in the keys and then I'll go walk around. What I should do is walk around first. But because it has been cases where people have said they come into work and they find a patient expired in the bed. So what I should do is walk around first and then get report. And I can do that because I get to work early now. I'm always at work early for some reason now. I think because where I work, all the nurses in that building come in early, and it got me in the mind frame of, well, they come in early, so I'm gonna come in early because I know even if I'm supposed to get off at 7, most of the nurses that's relieving me, they walking through the door at 6:40. So it has me coming in early to like give them that same courtesy. But I come in early, but sometimes I'll go ahead and walk my whole and see all my patients. And sometimes I'll get report and then walk it. Oh, you come in early and sit in the car then? No, I come in early and I actually go inside now. Now, I'm gonna say when I was working in long-term care, I tried to be on time was 7 o'clock. If I was late, it was a grace period. I would say just give me 10 minutes. Because one thing about long-term care, some of them nurses be habitually late. They have every excuse in the world. And it's like you already know, like I said in one video, you already know certain nurses ain't going, they're supposed to be there at 7. Some of them ain't gonna get there till 8 a.m. Some ain't gonna get there till 7:45. It's like you already know. When you see that name relieving you, just already know you ain't getting relief. But I used to do that at the hospital, Deb, to do. When I used to work at the hospital, I would get there early and sometimes I would cry in the car and be like, I don't want to be here. I don't know why I was torturing myself like that. Yeah. That's a good practice. That's a good practice. I would sit in the car and cry at the hospital. And long-term care, I used to just jump right out just to go ahead and get it started. Where I work at now, I just get there early and just go on and relieve them. Um, so for so many years a nurse, and I was a night shift nurse for a lot of years, like 15 years. I was a night shift nurse and I thought that was the best shift because it's a lot of downtime. It ain't a bunch of ruckus going on. You basically making sure the patients stay breathing and alive throughout your shift. Um, Ain't really a whole lot of meds to give, like once you do the 9 p.m. meds or whatever. But I have found that for me, as I gotten older, I function better if I'm a day shift nurse. I feel like I function better on the job and outside of the job if I'm a day shift nurse. But I'm not a day shift nurse now, though, y'all. I work nights. I don't know how they wrote me into working nights. I do two 7P to 7A and two 3 to 11s. Ooh, that's the perfect shift. That the dude. Yes. Oh, I would love that shift. Y'all know I do two 3 to 11s now, and I won't do it 5 days a week. But out of my 7P to 7A, I do two of those and two 3 to 11. I love my 3 to 11 shift, y'all. I love it. I love it. But I function better as a day shift nurse. You just put up with more stuff like in the facilities. You just put up with more. You habitually 5 to 10 minutes late. I used to be like that, and no, I in the beginning I used to be habitually late because everybody else was being late, so I was like, I'm gonna be late too. They what they gonna say? Um, it took. I just recently in the last, I'm gonna say since I was working at the hospital, because the hospital make you be on time. That's when I started being on time. So I would even feel bad being 10 minutes late, even when I went back to long term care, because I would have to be on time at the hospital. Because if you ain't on time at the hospital, you're gonna miss morning huddle. For one, they did a nurse in the morning. They did a huddle every shift at the beginning of every shift, even on night shift. You're gonna miss that being late. So, but 10 minutes. I used to even if I know I'm gonna be 10 minutes late to my job, I would call them and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna be 10 minutes late." I had gotten to that point that 10 minutes late for me. I felt bad even being 10 minutes late, even though I'm probably ain't gonna get relieved for a whole 30 minutes after my shift ended. But where I work at now, I be there like 15, 20, 30 minutes early sometimes. And they don't mind you clocking in early. So if I got to be to work at 3 and I get there at 2:30, I can clock in at 2:30. And it's nothing said. And another thing where I work, so I noticed that the staff nurses, oh, I'm not doing on call. I quit the job when they told me I had to be on call. I'm not being on call on no job. That's me personally. First of all, they don't pay you enough. I feel like if I got to be on call, you need to pay me for the whole shift that I'm on call because I can't even plan out my life. That's my. I might as well be working that day because I got to sit there and be waiting to see if you're gonna call, if you're gonna call, and they give you what like $2.50 an hour. I ain't. Some pay you like $100 that day to be on call, but that's better than some. Some don't pay you nothing to be on call. But I can't be on call because I need to be able to plan my day. I remember this one job I worked told me I was gonna be on call. My own call, I'll never forget it. My own call day was like March the 20th. Designation like February to, I think it was enough time for it to be 2 weeks where I wouldn't have to fall be there on that on call day. Mhm. Yeah, I couldn't Dev, I couldn't do it, honey. That I saw when they had me on call on March the 20th. I think they had my resignation like February the 25th or something like that. Mm-mm. Nope. Yeah, I can't be on call. I'd rather you just tell me I got to come into work that day. And then that job, they were so short that I knew I was going to end up having to work. So you mean to tell me you're going to make me do a fourth 12-hour shift? And it was in a long term care facility. So you basically might as well say I got to work a fourth 12-hour shift. Mm-mm. Every third week? Is it every third weekend? The whole weekend? They have that a lot in long term care. That's why when I did long term care, I was the every other weekend nurse. Long when I did long term care as a supervisor, the whole week. Ain't you already there though? Ain't you already there the whole week? So you may possibly get off from work and have to go back in if somebody call out. Ooh, Yeah, that will mess with my anxiety too. Oh no. I ain't never heard of that before, Dev, to do the whole week. I ain't never heard of that. And I'm so petty. Let me have to come in and work. Let me get off from work and then have to come back 11 to 7. When I leave 7 in the morning, y'all might not so let me work 7 a to so you work 10:30 to 7. Let me had to have stayed till 11 o'clock that night. I ain't coming in the next day till about 1 p.m. Oh, you got something plans in motion? Orthopedic slash med surge. I always thought orthopedic nurse um was probably, I don't want to say it's the easiest, but I always thought that probably be the easiest specialty to work in the hospital, the ortho floor. Ooh, no, the easiest floor to work in the hospital, to me, in my opinion, and I've never worked it, but I was offered a position on this floor, is those, I think at my facility, it was like the CDC, the observation unit. What? Where you at, Dev the dude? Don't make me come. No, I ain't gonna come on your job. CDU, that's what they call CDU. What I said, CDC, child, excuse me. CDU. I got offered a job on that unit at a hospital. Oh, okay. It's the unit where they're trying to decide whether you're going to be admitted or not. That's basically what they told me when they offered me the job. And the only reason I didn't take y'all, the only reason I didn't take it. Yes, I should have took that job. You ain't gonna believe the reason why I didn't take the job, y'all. I didn't take the job, y'all, because I thought I'd be too bored. I thought I would be too bored, and I turned it down because I know me, and I like to be doing something. I don't like to just sit down for long. I like to be doing something. And I said, I'll get bored. I'll be wanting to go outside. I'll be wanting to roam the other floors, talk to other nurses, and I turned it down. But if you somebody who don't mind being on that type of unit, apply for that unit in your hospital. You may not get to exercise too many critical thinking skills. You may not get to even demonstrate too many skills. But that's probably the easiest job, and even easier than being a nurse who works a desk in administration or anything. So if you want to work in a hospital, because I know some nurses just want to work in a hospital just to say they're working in a hospital, but you don't want to be stressed out, apply for that unit. Okay. I don't know how psych work. Well, it is. It I don't know how to put this. So y'all, I worked at the state psych hospital here where I live, and I'm trying to. It was easy. Yeah, it probably depends on where you at. It was easy. No, I'm gonna take that back. I worked the geriatric lodge. I worked the geriatric lodge. Honey, as long as I can outrun them, I was good. As long as I worked somewhere where I can outrun the patients, I was good. So I knew on a geriatric lodge that they couldn't outrun me, so I was fine. But on that female lodge, they was over there beating up the nurses and beating up the they call them BHAs. The BHAs, honey, they was over there beating them up. So that's that's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, they was beating them down. I told them if they ever put me over there on that lodge, I'm quitting. What theme with me, y'all, is I would quit a job. The med nurse from my unit went over there to work and they punched that woman in the face because they asked for their PRN medication and it wasn't time for it. They punched her in the face. That lady was probably like 60 something years old when they did that. And ain't no repercussions going to be done to those patients. Yeah. I was told by a nurse, yeah, I heard OR was easy too. I heard that. I was told by, and how is the cardiac cath lab? Is that easy, y'all? Because I did a rotation there, and the nurse, they seemed like they knew their stuff now. They knew their stuff, but I felt like I would be bored to death working in a cardiac cath lab. Um, but a nurse who Dev, I said that in the video before, y'all. PACU was gonna be my specialty when I graduated. PACU was gonna be it for me. I loved my PACU rotation. I love my PACU rotation. I just knew I was gonna work in the PACU. I feel like you gonna have some skill. You gonna leave PACU. You're gonna be a skilled nurse working in the PACU. I love my PACU rotation. If I wasn't the age I am now, if I was 10 years younger, I would probably apply for a PACU unit. Why you passed out? Why you almost passed out? I love PACU, and I didn't know anything about PACU until I did my clinicals. I had never heard of a PACU unit. That's how I didn't know anything about PACU. When I did that rotation, let me tell you, I even had the PACU nurse there told me what route to take to start working in. They told you to put it in the IV. Oh, that's not something you want to do. See, that type of stuff would used to excite me. I used to love trying to put an IV in. Oh, it's bleeding. So where you work at? Let me scroll back through here. Where you about to pass out behind some blood? Let me see where you work. It'd probably be easier for you to tell me again, but let me see. Cause ain't too many places in nursing you ain't gonna see blood. I don't think it's where do you work now? Drawn by pencil. Cause there ain't too many, like I said, nursing specialties you're not gonna see blood. Or was it because the blood was everywhere? When I was an LPN, when I first became an LPN and I went and worked at the hospital. Oh, okay. You probably won't see as much. Maybe if you see a bad wound or something. When I first became an LPN, y'all, and I went to work at the hospital, y'all couldn't tell me I wasn't the top-notch IV insertion nurse in the building. They used to call me to come and what? You had to take you out, girl. They had to take you out in a wheelchair. um, they used to call me to come and insert the IVs. I just thought it was fun for me to insert IVs. I remember I had the elderly residents. It's hard to get IVs, like their veins just non-existent. Sometimes it's just hard to get it. I remember this one patient, I got an IV in her thumb. Y'all can tell me nothing. Went back to school, worked in long-term, left there, one of the long-term care, went back to school, got out, got my RN, went back in the hospital. I couldn't find a vein for hell. Y'all, if I had to call, what did they call them people that came and started IVs? I forgot what they call the people. You call them, they come start IVs. I couldn't start an IV for no. I'ma say 2 out of 5, maybe 2 out of 5. Yeah, they had a name though. There was the IV team. They probably got different names in different places though. I forgot what we called them in that house. Y'all, I was so mad, and I used to be jealous of one nurse who she could get an IV any like she would all, and I used to be like, how I didn't see that. I couldn't start an IV for nothing. If it ain't an AC, VAC team. That's what they call them, the VAC team, vacuum access. Yep, they call them VAC team. I couldn't start an IB for if I can't get it in the AC, I couldn't get it. I was so mad. I was so mad. I used to call that team so much. I don't know what happened. And one thing I used to enjoy doing at the hospital is drawing blood out of central lines. That was fun for me for some reason. So something is wrong with me. I used to enjoy drawing blood from central lines. I don't know why. Because where I worked, if a patient had a central line, the RN had to do the blood draws. I used to enjoy that. I think once I learned it, because it was a new skill for me and it was easy, I guess. I used to love drawing blood from central lines. I loved it. You couldn't tell me I wasn't the phlebotomist and everything. You couldn't tell me nothing, honey. I collect up and get my tubes and go up in there and have my child. You couldn't tell me nothing about drawing blood from central lines. I never drew from a port. I never got to draw from a port. But my friend did. I was so jealous. I never had to draw blood from a port. I looked it up on a video how to do it, but I never had to do it. But child, let somebody have to draw a blood from a central line. I would go draw it from for other nurses. I would draw their blood. I don't know why I enjoy that. And when I started working, and when I not started, but when I would go back to long term care and pick up shifts in long term care, and like a patient had a pick line that needed to be taken out, I would like if I knew a nurse was in school, she was an LPN and she was in school for her RN. If I had to do anything, because I used to love pulling out pick lines and midlines. I used to love taking them out. The process is, having to measure it and all that, and look at the end and make sure, nothing came off and all that. And I would walk them through that whole process. But I used to love removing pick lines and midlines. I love doing that. I don't know why. Strange. I love doing that. But yeah, I used to like find if an LPN was in school, and I'd be like, you want to see how to remove a pick line? And I would let her see the documentation I did, because a lot of nurses and I guess they don't do it often if there's not an RN in, but a lot of nurses don't document accurate when you're removing a pick line or a midline. You have to document length. You have to document accurately. And I would do the documents. I would, remove it, pull it, hold, because you got to hold it for a certain length of time. You can't just pull it, put a band of gauze on the band and go. You have to hold pressure to it for a certain amount of time. And then you have to document everything, the length and all. You got to measure it and all. And I would show them how to do that documentation. I used to enjoy pulling pick lines, drawing blood from pick lines, central lines, midlines, and pulling them. I enjoyed that. Yep. I won't be doing that anymore though, but I'm glad I got to do it. But even like inserting G tubes and stuff, I was doing that as an LPN, so that wasn't new to me. But like if I'm working with, like say it's a nurse and she's a CNA, not a nurse, say it's a CNA, and I know they're in school, the end goal for me is to retire. That's all. Um, and sometimes they have to do, I go back and forth with that because I feel like that I feel like sometimes I struggle with feeling like I'm gonna be a lifelong student, and I hate that for me because I don't like school. but I feel like I should be do further in life than what I'm doing as far as like obtaining degrees and but I don't want to work. So I don't know. The end goal for me is to retire, I think. I A lot of people tell me I should teach. A lot of people tell me I should teach. I feel like this is teaching though, so I'm good. Sometimes I'll be feeling like going back to get my MSN in education, but this is teaching to me, so I'm good with this. I don't like school. Maybe, maybe I might one day. I don't know, but yeah. So if there's a like where I work now, there's a she's not even she is a CNA. You don't have to be a CNA where I work, but she is a CNA. She's in school for nursing, so I had to replace a peg tube. This probably about 2 months ago. So I brought her in the room. I said, "Have you ever seen anybody replace a peg tube?" And she was like, "No." I was like, "Come on, let me show you how to do it. Let me show you the steps." Yep. And then when I had to remove that pick line, I called the nurse in there she was an LPN, but she was in school for an RN. I was like, "Come on, let me show you how to remove this pick line." Yep. So when they have to do it, even if it's even if they never have to do it, or even if they have to do it 6, 7 months down the line, it would be a little familiar to them. You can do adjunct with your BSN and teach that way, just something. Yeah, I thought about doing clinicals with my BSN. I thought about doing it, but I would only want to do it. I would only want to do the clinical and long-term care. Yeah, I thought about it. Do you think a lot of nurse charting is unnecessary, even takes from nursing care? Child, the way these people out here suing people, it ain't unnecessary. The way they suing them, the way nurses being brought. I told y'all about the deposition I was called into 5 years later. Something like that charting is necessary. Yeah, but you gotta watch what you chart. You gotta watch what you chart. It do take away from nursing care because 20 years ago we wasn't doing all this charting. But all this charting comes about because somebody sued somebody and there wasn't any documentation to back it up. No, I ain't never had a patient pull out their pick line. I've had a patient pull out their peripheral IV site, but never their pick line. You know, I had a patient that I had a patient who I did a finger stick on, and for some reason forgot the patient platelet count was low. I don't know why. When I tell y'all, I had to hold that patient pressure on that patient finger for about 20 to 30 minutes to get them to stop bleeding. That was the first that ever happened. And I didn't realize it, let me tell you, until I did the finger stick, left out the room, came back in the room, and it was blood all over. I was like, oh shit. Y'all, when I tell y'all I had to hold pressure onto that, I know it was a good 30 minutes I had to hold pressure. But I ain't never had a patient pull out a pick line. Mm. But it's getting a little scary in the hospital now because like it's the acuity of the patients they putting on these different floors, the acuity level is too high for the floors they're putting them on. How far are you from the end of your nursing career? Not asking your age, but how far are you from the end? Or will there be an end? Will you be one of the nurses who retire and then come back and then come work part-time? Because I think that's what I'll be. I can't say where patient and their sitter were sleeping and the pick line was on. Ooh. In long-term care? And I wonder, did they like do the measurements and all that to make, because just a little piece, a little tiny piece of a pick line can cause can cause a blockage or cause clotting. Yeah, I think that's me too. I hate to say it because I'm so pro retirement, it don't make no sense. But and especially what I'm doing now, I actually do love my consumers, y'all. I think I've said this before. I love my consumers and the building that I'm in. And I be in there just being silly with them. I really do. When I'm off from work, I think about them. And when I see them come Monday, I'll be so happy to see them. So that's another reason why I know I'm here for the long haul because I really enjoy seeing my consumers. Like some of them are older than me, and to me, they are like my children. I feel like they're my children, I guess, because they're disabled, and and a lot of them have intellectual disabilities, and I just feel like they're my children, and I just be so excited to see them. So I'll probably be with them, and it's gonna be a struggle because my plan was to transfer from that facility to a facility within that same agency here where I'm at on the weekends. But I don't know if I'm gonna want to leave them because I just love them. They just like my and they're used to me now. I've only been working there, I think, 6 months. They are used to me, and I think they recognize my voice. One of them, she be smiling so big when I walk in the room, but she probably smile like that with everybody though. But you can't tell me she not smiling like that because of me. One of them, she get excited when she hear me because I call her like I don't call her by her name. I call her pretty girl. I'm like, hey, pretty girl, how you doing today? And she just gets so excited, and I know she be excited because she climbs out the bed and walks up on me. But um, that's I know I'm gonna be there for the long haul, and so yeah, that's kind of another reason why I feel like I probably won't do anything if I would anything outside of that because I like my free time too. Like I like my days off, and if I was to do anything outside of that, I would have to do it on my days off. I can't see me giving that up. And I have the perfect schedule. Yeah, when you get a rapport with the residents and the staff, you really don't be wanting to go nowhere else until the job start beating you down mentally. Now, if this job turned into something more mental on me, as much as I love them, I'll leave. But I don't see it going that way. And I talked with another nurse that worked there. Oh, you and the ADN don't pretty much do the same thing, though? I'm trying to think what do an ADN do? To me, it seems like the ADN do everything the DON don't want to do. So get the DON to train you. Get the DON to train you because to me, it seems like the ADNs do just what the DONs don't want to do. Because a lot of the ADON job fall in the DON scope. It's just that, like I say, assistant to the DON basically. But if you become a DON, she do a lot more administrative things than you do as a supervisor. But she do the administrative things that the DON would do if she wasn't there. So that's why I say get the I'm not saying don't train with her because you will learn some DON tasks by training with the ADON. But if you become a DON at a facility, I mean you are RN, so you'll never be without a. But if you get training if there's something you want to do, if you get training as a DON at one facility, you could take that training and that having had that role anywhere and be a DON at any facility. And I remember years ago they were bringing DONs in salary, and this is years ago. They were bringing in DONs with salaries and at like 75 to 77,000. They probably bringing them in a lot of places now. DONs is probably coming in at like 90 to 100K a year, which is not to say that's a whole lot of money because you can make that yourself um, without being a DON. But child, places always need DON. Oh, huh, you good where you at then? Well, if you at 93 with the job you at, then your DON probably making like, so are you salary as a supervisor? Most of the places I work, the supervisors aren't salary. But if you're 93 salaried, your DON is probably at like one 110, 115. Oh yeah, hourly. Yeah, that's about the hourly. That's about the hourly rate now for RNs. And let me tell you, when I was a supervisor, which it was, what the how long ago that was, y'all? 3 years? 3 years ago? So when I was a supervisor, I think I was getting 42 an hour. And when I stopped being the supervisor and went back down to being the floor nurse, I think dropped me back down to like 38, 39. So um yeah, so if you're at 93, your DON might be at like 110, 115. So I don't know what they're paying DONs now, but I know years ago, back when I was at LPN, they were at like 77. And that's in South Carolina. So now post COVID and all that, they probably coming in at like 110. But it's a lot of stress being a DON, but it's gonna be that same level of stress being an ADON. But a lot of places don't utilize an ADON, but just about all facilities utilize a DON. So that's why I was saying, like, kind of the DON probably ain't gonna want to train you though because they might feel like their job at risk. But if you ever work long term care, places recycle DONs in and out every year. Like I've never worked anywhere where a DON was there longer than 4 years. And that was the longest. I worked places where the DON was there for a year and then she was out the door and moved on to the next DON position. Yeah. But y'all, I didn't realize I was on here for 2.5 hours. So, oh, admins. You want me to guess the admin salary? Because they make more than a DON. So I don't know how to guess because I never knew what they were paying admin. See, I knew what they were paying DONs back in the day. I knew what they were making. So I kind of gave an estimate of what they probably making now. I don't know what admins are making. A lot of admins are not nurses at all. Um, I don't know what they're making. Yeah, if it's a good place, stick with it because you don't hear too many people saying no long-term care facility is a good place. So if it's a good place, stick with it. They've been there that many years. Oh yeah, that's a great place then. I ain't never known for a DON or admin to be a place that stick there. That's a good place. Stick with them. Stick there. If they've been there that year, that long, yeah, stick with them. Yeah, that's a gold mine there. Money wise and as far as finding a good facility, stick with them. I've never known for an administrator or deal when to last that long anywhere. And Tyru, I don't know. I don't even know what to estimate. Because I'm assuming if a DON was making, and when I say this was years ago, y'all, I'm talking about like 10 years ago, probably 15. No, I'm gonna say might have been like years go by fast. So I know over 10 years ago, DONs were coming in at like 77K a year. Yeah, over 10 years ago. Because I think this was before this is before I even moved out of my hometown. And I lived there in 2013. So DON I know was get her salary was 77K. So that probably was about 12, 13 years ago. Um, and I don't know if the DON was making 77K, the administrator probably was already at like 90, maybe probably at like 90, 85, 90. So now they probably, I don't know, I could try to find out. I don't, do I know any administrators? They might be at like 125 admin. But if it's a good place, Deb, stick with it. Because let me tell you, it's hard to say that about facilities, long term care facilities. But I'm going to need an update in about 6 months on that place. I'm going to try to remember to ask you in about 6 months. Oh, yeah, nurses and CNAs be places long term. Yeah, the place that I work when I first got my nursing license, 23 years ago, there are some nurses that are still there now that were there 23 years ago. Nurses stick around, CNAs stick around. I just was never that type of nurse. But the DONs and the admins normally, and they don't normally quit, they get fired. Yeah, the DONs and the admins don't be quitting, they be getting fired. That's why I'm saying if they still there, yeah, they don't be quitting. They be getting walked out and fired and go right into the next facility and get a DON or an admin job. But I learned when I was like new, I'm not gonna say younger, but when I was kind of, I realized that in order to get more money in nursing, back then, I don't know how it is now, I realized that in order for you to get more money, you actually had to quit your job and go to a new job every so many years because that new job will start you at okay, so when I was an LPN and I was making, say I was making $14, when I was making 14, no, yeah, $14 an hour. With the raises that they were giving, it would have took me probably 3 years to get to 16.50 an hour, and this is back in like the early 2000s, y'all. But if I quit that job after a year, a year and a half, and go work another job, that job after a year and a half would have started me with that 16.50. And so that happened to me a few times. That's when I realized how that worked because over time the pay rates increase. Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is. Draw. I was calling you Dawn by pencil. Drawn by pencil. That's how it is. So I quit a job that I was working, making $16 an hour, and I had been there for maybe a year, and that was a good rate. I thought I was doing good. It was an LPN. I thought I was doing good, and when I went and interviewed for that other job, them people started me with $19 an hour. And I was like, I'm only one more year experience than I was when I started this other job at 16 a year ago. And y'all about to give me 19. I I realized many years ago that that next job will put you financially in a bracket or in a place that it would have took you 3 years of working, 4 or 5 years to work to get to on that same job that you on just by getting raises 2%, 3%, 5%. You giving me 60 cent more, 75 cent more. It's gonna take me 3 years to get this extra $3 that this place giving me just from leaving y'all and going in like, yeah. Yeah, and I don't know why. That's why I be telling people when you a new RN and you like say you want to work in the hospital as a new RN, go get 1 year in. 1 year in, go to another job. You'll be amazed how much more you're gonna make on that next job just from having that 1 year experience. But A lot of people don't want to be moving around like that. A lot of people want to stay with it. I'm not gonna say they get complacent, but they know what they are. They're comfortable, and that is what it is. So, like even the job I'm working now, and it might be because it's in a different county. Where I work now was offering one rate. Where I come to on the weekends, that same agency doing that same job, I would make it's a it's a $5,000 difference annually in the pay for that same job. You can ask them for a raise. I don't know if you're gonna get it, but you can ask them. I mean, I'm not gonna say you ain't gonna get it. People do annual raises if it's outside of your raise. Well, I mean, you can ask. Ain't no harm in asking, but you probably still ain't gonna get it up to what this other place offering. And so even like my job, when I got my job working at the hospital, they were paying when I got my RN, my base pay was $27.75, I think, an hour, and that was because they gave me some money for being a LPN for so many years. But because they were losing a lot of nurses to this other hospital, because this other hospital was paying more. I was there after 1 month. My base pay went from 27 to 29 and something, but with the shift differential, it went to like 32 because they had to come correct because they was losing money to that other facility, that other hospital. But yeah, it don't hurt to ask. You can ask. I ain't saying you ain't gonna get it because you might get it. These days and times, I don't know what's going on, honey. I don't know where they getting all this money from all of a sudden that they offering people this money left and right. But it makes me think that y'all been underpaying us for all these decades. Y'all could have been paying us more money. Like I said, I get so upset thinking about them 4 12-hour shifts I used to do just to make an extra 200 and something dollars, 300, maybe $300, when y'all offering people 3 times that just to pick up one extra shift. Yeah, they can afford to pay agency. And if you making 35, 40, $50 an hour, that agency getting an extra 20 to 25 an hour on top of that. That's why they're trying to get all these staff people in the building now. Yep. But I'm gonna go, y'all, because I have to use the bathroom and I need to go heat up my rotisserie. Well, I shouldn't. That don't sound too hygienic. I gotta heat up my rotisserie, and it's getting late. So I enjoyed this. Thank y'all for joining. Cause I didn't think any, how I do these impromptu things. I didn't think anybody was gonna be on here. But thank y'all for joining. I'm gonna try my best to shoot out these videos. I'm gonna try. And I hope y'all have a good rest of the night and a happy, uneventful start to your work week if you start on Mondays. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.